Hey, hey there, how are you? Sorry, a little dark. Um, some more truth was revealed to me today about the Ohio Bermuda Triangle that I need to share immediately. Um, First of all, I showed in one video how the light does not extend to the fence if it is on this side of the bottom of the steps. When the light, flashlight, is forward of it, the light shows on the fence, but it doesn't behind it. I then realized something just now when I was outside. As you're coming up the driveway, there's this big bright light. You see it down there at the street. The deck railing part is behind the house, but as you're coming up the driveway, you clearly see your shadow on the garage. But when you try to extend your shadow like your arm into the backyard, there is no reflection that shines against the back fence. And it's true walking all the way back to the garage. You can test it out because when you put your hand where the fence reflection or where your shadow should be on the fence, it is not. So there's even more proof that I can show with that. With that said, why has nobody come to see this? It's really troublesome because it's real and I'm not making it happen. Something else is. So my fraternity brother, Dave Gilpert, who lives far away, asked me 6 questions and I answered them. And he responded by saying that he would get a hold of Mike and Trevor. I don't know if he's done that yet. It's very necessary because those are the two people who do not believe me the most, and they are the spokespeople for the entire fraternity because they're on site. They also believe Patty Ryan, which is a big problem that needs to be addressed because she's a liar. There is to that, but they need to hear that from somebody other than me. because they don't believe me. So, Dave Gilpert. Let me see. I'm going to send him a text now. I know it's late. He said, Ram, thanks for the response and the written responses. I read them and understand your point. However, we are never going to see eye to eye. That's disturbing. I've done everything you've asked and I have trusted you, but you don't trust me or anyone else for that matter. No, I do when they're correct, but when I know they're wrong, no, I'm not going to pretend like they're correct. That'd be silly. Let me finish. From my vantage point, I see a guy who is going through horrible experiences but cannot or will not see that those experiences are not caused by his neighbors, but by an alteration of his physical and chemical makeup, very likely due to repeated meth use. No, there's been nothing physically to my brain that has changed, except my ability to get high. That has changed. And I don't drink alcohol. So when I drink a bottle of wine and don't get a buzz, that's a problem. But I've already got it documented with Netcare when they whisked me away again. And I blew a 3.0 and the body cam of the officers and the staff at Netcare will testify I was stone sober. I will talk to Trevor and Mike, but what happens when they come over and don't see anything? Then what? Well, they will. And I'm still racking my head over your answer to number 2. If these things aren't visible to the naked eye, why not just put the phone down and rebuild your life? You said yourself, you don't see it without the phone. Not quite what I said. I said it's much more difficult to see it without your phone. And neighbors have already claimed that they see it. That's why I got the response on YouTube from somebody who called me the devil. Because that's what neighbors said. Because they could see the technology on my yard. Now, come on. Yes, it is super late here, Donkey. That's okay. The last couple of days, and I got sleep last night. My schedule is not what you would consider normal. It's because things are very serious. And yeah, I'll have to look more closely at Instagram about your offer of an interview because I definitely would like my side of the story to come out. It's being heavily blocked, and I've got to figure out a way to get around it. I just saw something in my eyeglasses, so I'm testing something out. That is similar to what I see sometimes reflected against the inside of the lens while I'm wearing it. And little light dots will appear on the surface of the lens on the inside of my uh, glasses. So what I saw, do you see the upper of the two right there? I was trying to track it down and find its location, and I did. Underneath the gathering table in the dining room. These other lights, which there aren't too many to speak of tonight, unlike other nights. There's one. Get my hand down. There we go. There should not be a vibrating entity. The technology will go on the surface of the lens and alter its direction. That's how it is able to do things. Watch this. Here is a pretty bright light, right? You would expect it to stay bright, right? And you'd be able to see the outside. It's not necessarily true. So here, the reflection of the light goes all the way out. There have been many times when I've gotten my light close to the surface and the light doesn't get outside of the window. It doesn't get past. That's how I know that this technology would be horrible for blackout. It would make no electrical light go or visible light on headlights. That would be devastating because the Army and the Navy and the Marines and the Air Force all use lights on their vehicles. If you can't make light work, there's definitely a problem. I don't know who this is. Take a look at this. AD. I don't know who AD is. That looks like a profile name. I want to make sure you can see it. So how am I going to do that? Let me try and blow it up. And it says, recently viewed FFE transportation services. I didn't view that. Let me see where it is. Norman, Oklahoma. Hmm. And I did go through this list and I wrote down all of the addresses I've never been and I gave them to the police. There are a number of addresses that I could go knock on doors, and since it works for everybody else, maybe I'll pretend I'm a federal officer. Since that's the fad in Columbus. Because you can get away with it. Huh? Cops won't do anything to you. Just ask Patty Ryan. And they don't check IDs either. Because they don't know how to read. This was one that threw me for a loop. White Lake, South Dakota. It showed as a recent location. I've never been to South Dakota. So why would my phone say that I am? You know? C-A-D. I know what AD means. Arvid Devil 1. Now, let me explain something to people that are convinced that when it said Arvid's iPhone on my Google and Apple ID accounts, why they somehow interpret that as something I would do. No, every time I use Arvid's name in my phone designation, I call him out as the devil or invading all of my devices. I would never impersonate somebody, but I would call them out. And that's what I've done. I'm glad that you enjoyed hearing the piano. I'm a little disappointed in the quality, Donkey. It didn't quite come through the way I was hoping, but um, I love playing piano, and it is something that my main captor does want to take away from me. I've also got to get to the bottom of where all of my investment and retirement account has disappeared to. There's approximately, I would say, after 3 years' time, about $100,000 that has been removed because all I spend my money on is my bills, food at the grocery store, and gas in my car. That does not cost $70,000 a year. So we've got a problem, and because somebody has been impersonating me and really getting a kick out of it, he's decided to steal from me with my own money. I went into what I thought was the Fidelity branch earlier today, and I guess it was not Fidelity Investments, which would be different, I suppose. In Delaware, Ohio. They asked for my ID. I gave them my ID, and the person came out, the manager came out and said, "Are you looking for Fidelity Investments?" Yep. I guess that was just the bank. Um, but I didn't quite find what I wanted in what Fidelity provided me with. So that means the default is not in Fidelity's corner. So the fault must be with my financial advisor, who is a great guy, but if he's using, not he, if my impersonator is using a voice emulator and sounding like me, and remember, is convincing, he's probably contacted David Shank. And since I have no record of it in my checking account, which is the only place it should be going, my imposter might have had David put it in a different account or go directly to him. I'm going to need to figure it out tomorrow. One interesting thing is that this is really complicated. So, more about that. when I figure out more information. There's a pre-distribution penalty. Two patrol cars just came down the block and decided to stop stop right in front of my house. Why? Am I talking too loudly in my house? Let's go for a walk, shall we? That lock is getting harder and harder to latch. Let me show you something from my front door, my storm door. You're going to think this is crazy. Here we go. Because I was unable to undo the lock. I used a tool. I can't remember which tool, but do you see this? That is the lock. It broke. There it is. And there is this white strip. I don't know if you can see it. It looks like it's let's see, how can I get it there? Oh wait. Oh, it doesn't matter. Anyway, this little piece right there. You see that white thing? I do not know what that is. But whatever it is, I think that's what's preventing the lock from working properly. Yeah. So that's why I use my back door now, because I can't unlock it, and I haven't bothered to get a new handle yet. Yeah. It broke right off. I do have some incredible stories, but the thing that makes the most amount of difference is that the stories I tell are true. So, How long until people wake up? That's the only question.